posted from Donald Trump's official account, by the way. The World Cup is here. Can you smell it? After 32 years, it's made its way back to the land of the free. This edition has its quirks, but let's pretend this is normal. Everything's fine. Let's move on. Prepare for the first ever World Cup halftime show. This World Cup will be special for a lot of reasons. It's the last dance for the likes of Lionel Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo, Luka Modric, Edin Dzeko, Guillermo Ochoa, Manu Neuer. It's Ronaldo's final chance to fan the flame of the GOAT debate and leave with a mic drop. And yes, there are still people that fight over the GOAT debate like it's still 2011. They exist. They're like that Japanese soldier fighting World War II, despite it being over for almost 30 years. It's potentially the birth of a new hero, and the return of heroes of days gone by. It's the biggest and grandest effort to turn the American public into football-loving maniacs. It's a chance for every cameraman on payroll to spend more time finding attractive women in the crowd than actual gameplay. FIFA, we know what kind of men you are. It's a chance to test the AI data centers to their maximum effort. I don't think the world is ready for the amount of AI slop that's about to hit our timelines. Elon, we need those data centers on the moon. Please, Elon. Please. Coincidentally, just in time for the SpaceX IPO. But forget all of that. The World Cup is here. Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. I'm Tinashe and welcome to your 100% reliable, 100% credible, 100% backed by science World Cup predictions video. Now, listen up. Even though these predictions reflect what will happen in the tournament, I must warn you that if you do use these picks in any kind of wager of some sort, this is not financial advice. I'm not liable, but if you win, I'm expecting my cut. So here's how we're gonna do this. I've pulled the odds for each team taking part in this tournament from some of the biggest brokers on the planet and averaged them out to produce this table right here. The names are blanked out because why take the fun out of the video? At the time that I pulled all of this, it was just under a week away from the tournament, so expect them to change as time goes by and especially as the competition goes on. We're just gonna use this as a guide as we go through the video and talk through all 48 teams, you know, their pre-tournament stories, what they're good at, what I'm expecting. You'll see what I mean, but at the end, I'll reveal my final brackets and who I think is gonna win. Take a seat, this is gonna take some time. That being said, I won't blue ball you. We're gonna start from the top and begin with who I think will make the finals. Finalist number 1 is Portugal, which might be a bit surprising to some. And the odds are definitely not in my favor as they are 6th in the overall favorites with odds of 9-1. Before anyone says it, Ronaldo does not even factor into this pick at all. In fact, I think that the less that Ronaldo plays and the more that he motivates, the better. But all of this depends on what kind of role he's willing to, accept at 41 years of age, his last dance and all that, as I've already said. Assuming he's on the same page as me, I've just watched Portugal's midfield run Europe for the last 2 years straight. Vitinha and João Neves have terrorized the Champions League. And then we have Bruno Fernandes in sensational form, breaking assist records in the Premier League, even if it was, a tad questionable. Bernardo Silva is always a minimum 7.5 out of 10. Ruben Neves, Matheus Nunes, who is a natural midfielder but who I guess is more of a right back now. Listen, they are insanely stacked, and in knockout football where control and efficiency reign supreme, they have all the tools to get it done. And that's not even mentioning the likes of Nuno Mendes, Ruben Dias, Thomas Araujo, or João Cancelo and more in defense. Diogo Costa is brilliant in a Portugal shirt. Rafael Leao, João Felix, Pedro Neto in attack, not even mentioning Cristiano Ronaldo. It is obviously a real pain point and a real shame that Diogo Jota did not get to feature here because we all know that he would have. It is a really thoughtful touch that his best friend, Ruben Neves, will be wearing his number 21. If Roberto Martinez can manage all these players well, and specifically Ronaldo's minutes, I think they're poised to do something incredible. Careful though, because Martinez was also in charge of another golden generation in Belgium not too long ago. For his sake, perhaps things will be different this time. Portugal are in Group K alongside Colombia, Democratic Republic of Congo, and Uzbekistan. Colombia were one of 4 teams to end CONMEBOL qualifiers on 28 points. However, Colombia were the 2nd highest scoring team, which may have surprised people at the time. Perhaps it still surprises people, but it shouldn't. This squad is experienced, technically gifted, and has some real heavy hitters. Luis Diaz is the obvious pick here for the man to watch. Expect teams to pay very close attention to him just as much as you should expect him to embarrass his fair share of defenders. 12 years after a baby-faced James Rodriguez made himself a household name, winning the Golden Boot in the 2014 World Cup, he rocks up to his third World Cup as captain. Colombia were also runners-up in the most recent Copa America back in 2024, where many realized that Rodriguez is in fact still an active shooter. He won player of the tournament that time around. A notable point for Colombia though is their age. They are the third oldest squad going into the tournament with an average age of 29.58, with 12 players over the age of 30. However, the age debate can go however you want your narrative and your argument to be. They're more experienced or they're less mobile. Take your pick. I do think Colombia are gonna get out of the groups though. Third place isn't as clear-cut for me. Oh, and by the way, if you didn't know, in a regular 32-team tournament, which is every tournament from 1998 up until 2022, only the top 2 teams from each group progress to the next round. Now, with 48 teams for the first time, the top 2 progress and the 8 best third-ranked teams out of the 12 groups progress too. For the Democratic Republic of Congo, this is their first World Cup appearance since the Zaire era in 1974. They have big names on the world stage: Yohan Wissa, Cedric Bakambu, and Chancel Mbemba. They will be physical, direct, potentially a bit awkward. Uzbekistan rounds off the group. Despite having World Cup winner Fabio Cannavaro as the head coach, this is their first ever World Cup. After years of near misses, they have already made history. Some of their bigger names are Abdulkadir Kusanov of Man City and Eldar Shomurodov. However, I do think that the occasion is quite a tall ask for them. All in all, this is how I see Group K finishing up. No doubt in my mind, not even one. Another thing I don't doubt is that somebody out there might still need tickets. Which is why this video is sponsored by SeatGeek. SeatGeek has you covered for all the games. It's the #1 ticketing app with over 35 million downloads and over 70,000 events listed. Sports, concerts, festivals, whatever you're into. I'm actually a SeatGeek user for whenever I'm in the States, and I used it to grab some tickets for my cousin's birthday so he can go to South Africa versus Czechia. So if you're in the US this summer for the World Cup, I have a special discount. You can get $30 off any World Cup ticket when you spend $200 or more. Just use code FOOTBALLICONIC, hit the link in the description so the code gets auto-applied. That's $30 off any World Cup ticket when you spend $200 or more using code FOOTBALLICONIC. Thanks again to SeatGeek for sponsoring this video. Let's get back to it. On to the team that I think will be next to Portugal in the final. There is probably no surprise here: Spain, the reigning European champions, and for good reason too. The balance this team has, the combination of youth and experience. No Real Madrid players though. The first time in history that no Madrid players are called up for the Spain team, by the way, which is insane. They are the outright favorites to win everything by the estimation of almost every bookie. Listen, this is a team that made history by winning the World Cup back in 2010, of course, but this current group of players still, they don't carry that burden that all the old players did. Like right now, they know how to go deep in tournaments and really win big against the best opposition. Lamine Yamal, Gavi, Pedri, Nico Williams, Marc Cucurella, the list goes on. And we all know that Luis de la Fuente knows what he's doing. For all the reasons I gave for Portugal, you can go ahead and kind of copy-paste them and put them here for Spain, with the added factor that I think that their attack is stronger. Possibly their defense too. My only concern is that several main guys called up on this list have suffered big injuries over the last year, with most of them who did only really coming back in the last couple of weeks. And listen, I know that World Cup mode is a really serious switch for a lot of players. They will bite the bullet if it means that they can get a chance at World Cup glory and even ruin their careers potentially. Just ask Samuel Umtiti back from 2018. But something in me feels like this could potentially be an issue. Fabian Ruiz and Mikel Merino have missed big chunks of the year. Rodri hasn't been the same since returning from his ACL tear over a year ago. Lamine Yamal and Nico Williams both missed the end of the season and are being rushed back. If either isn't 100%, Spain have nobody that can really replace them. Having said that, that is a nightmare scenario, and in reality, if we're all being fair, any player, most players at any given point in their career, whether it's in club level or international level, are playing with some kind of injury. Some are disclosed, some aren't. So I think from here on in the video, I'm not really going to mention injuries, and I think that keeps things a little bit more balanced, but I thought it would be worthwhile to share that anyway. Regardless, I still see Spain making the final. In their group, they have Uruguay, Saudi Arabia, and Cabo Verde. Uruguay are probably the most common pick for second place here. The four-time world champions may have only won their last World Cup 76 years ago, but for a country with only 3.5 million people, they sure do pack a punch, and have always packed a punch. The kind of team you overlook until you realize the sharpness of their bite. Why has he done that? Despite the fact that Luis Suarez's knees have been gelatin for, I would say, at least 4 years now, probably a bit longer, he is still an active player. However, he will not be representing Uruguay at this tournament. Marcelo Bielsa is a manager known for how aggressively he sets his teams up to play. The likes of Federico Valverde, Ronald Araujo, Darwin Núñez, and more are perfect for this. Even my king Manuel Ugarte, as long as you make sure that he plays most of his game without the ball. Saudi Arabia may still be feeling the high of beating Argentina in the opening game of the 2022 World Cup.
끝나고도 기쁨을 만끽했습니다.
Excuse me, where is Messi? Where is Messi?
Even though this guy was right when this happened, we all know where Messi ended up when it was all said and done. Because there are these two powerhouses in this group, I don't see anyone else dislodging them all that much. The battle for third place is quite interesting for that reason. Cabo Verde are another World Cup debutant and yet another team that err on the older side, being the fourth oldest squad at the tournament. These games are usually defined by moments though, and it only takes one. Even still, I've consulted my big brain scientists, and this is how Group H will finish, no doubt about it. I do absolutes. On to semi-finalists number 1, France. After Spain, they are the team with the second best odds to go all the way, and this shouldn't surprise anyone in the slightest. Not only are they coming off the back of back-to-back World Cup finals, but they have continued to produce the world's best talent. It's gotten to the point where they have probably the most monstrous depth that the world has ever seen at international level. The attack of Kylian Mbappe, Ousmane Dembele, Michael Olise, Bradley Barcola, Desiree Doué, Ryan Cherki, Jean-Philippe Mateta sounds like an ultimate team side. A lot of people are confused by the midfield of only 5 players, but considering this will more than likely be a 4-2-3-1, that's 5 players for 2 positions. The question comes down to whether France will be able to put it all together. Funnily enough, on that midfield battle point, I think Antoine Griezmann is a very big miss and is still good enough to play in this team. France really need that kind of workhorse who can do just as much in attack as defense. It's what's held this team up since 2018. Now I know he's 35, but like I said, I think he still has a lot to give. A very interesting question over here is, do we see Griezmann here lacing up for France if instead of Kylian Mbappe, Didier Deschamps gives him the captaincy back in 2023? If so, considering that didn't happen, in this tournament, will France, live to pay for it? I'm smart enough to not question Kylian Mbappe's ability at World Cup level, but I also understand that a common sentiment is that he doesn't do enough to contribute to the overall, for the teams that he plays in. If that's the case this time, then he's gonna have to make sure he scores a lot of goals and does a lot up front. William Saliba might be the best defender on the planet, in my opinion at least. Paired up with Dayot Upamecano is the dream of any fan. I've selected France to top their group, obviously, but at the same time, this is a group that I can't be too sure of. Nobody can. France, Senegal, Norway, Iraq. Listen, Iraq, I'm really sorry the football gods have done this to you. In their first World Cup since 1986, Iraq battled their way through the Interconfederation playoffs, only to wind up in a group with goddamn France, the champions of Africa, and the most potent dark horse in the entire competition. It's tough. The battle of second place here is honestly the same as the battle for first. Sorry, I said champions of Africa here, which technically is not correct. People's champion of Africa, let's put it that way. Coming off the craziest major tournament final I've ever witnessed, you can check this video out if you missed it, Senegal won AFCON only to have Morocco reverse the decision in court. They might not have the official title, but that shouldn't matter over here because Senegal are strong and filled with players that have won everything at club level. Sadio Mane, Kalidou Koulibaly, Nicholas Jackson, and so many more. They are a golden generation and have been at the pinnacle of African football for at least 5 years now. They won the 2021 AFCON. There wasn't any drama there, so that title stays. And then on the other end, we have Norway, who were one of only 2 European teams to qualify for the World Cup with a perfect record. No losses, no draws, only wins. Not only that, but they scored 37 goals in 8 games. Do the math on that one, guys. Erling Haaland scored 16 goals in 8 games. Second highest scorer was on 8. But of course, this team is so much more than Erling Haaland. Ask Italy. Oh, you can't. They're at home for the 3rd time in a row. Martin Ødegaard, Oscar Bob, Antonio Nusa, Julian Ryerson, Patrick Berg, who I must say was incredible for Bodo Glimt in a really fairy tale run in the Champions League this last year. That's why this group is such a toss-up for me. I have it like we see on screen, purely because it's Norway's first World Cup since 1998, and they also haven't even qualified for the Euros since 2000. Even though many of these players are battle-proven at club level, amongst the best in the world, the best in the world in some cases in their position, they haven't experienced knockout football, knockout international football in a generation. Will that matter? I don't know. Norway, by the way, have the 9th best odds to win everything. In any case, 3rd place doesn't mean elimination anyway. We now move on to our 4th and final semi-finalists, England. Will it come home though? It seems the odds makers don't entirely believe it, but that's not to say they're down and out. They have the 3rd best odds to go all the way with odds just under 7-1. England is always such a tricky team to pinpoint. By most estimates, they are always a favorite. The English public always has high expectations, but chooses to downplay them only for what seems like the inevitable elimination to devastate them. The English press always builds them up expressly with the purpose to tear them down because it prints more headlines. The English Premier League is the biggest, richest, and most popular league on the planet, so by default, most football fans around the world take some kind of an interest in them. And why wouldn't people take an interest in them when they have the likes of Bukayo Saka, Declan Rice, Jude Bellingham, Reece James, and Harry Kane, who I believe is the best player in the world? Expectations are even greater and more amplified when they have the apparent luxury of being able to leave the likes of Harry Maguire, Cole Palmer, Lewis Hall, Phil Foden, and Trent Alexander-Arnold, among many others, at home. But there's always something, isn't there? Something that just derails the train when it really gets going. Every time. Thomas Tuchel has put an ungodly amount of pressure on himself with his picks for his England squad. Jordan Henderson is a known leader, I guess. If he's going for a set-piece heavy side, then Dan Burn is tall, I guess. For both criteria, no Harry Maguire is odd. Jed Spence over Lewis Hall is another odd one. John Stones and Tino Livramento have barely played football in all of 2026. There are a lot of talking points when it comes to this team, but when it really comes down to it, if you push all the noise to the side and look at the combinations of all the starting 11s that Tuchel can put out over here, the quality they possess is obvious. Tuchel has also proven he's an elite coach. I'm fairly certain he's assessed all the concerns around his team thousands of times over. Does that mean he will ultimately be right, though? Well, because of the path that I had them on when I did my simulation, I think they get a good run to the semifinals, and I think they do make it, but I'm not sure of anything beyond that. They top their group, which consists of Croatia, Ghana, and Panama. Croatia is a no-brainer here for second, steered by Zlatko Dalic, who, if you recall, has taken Croatia to a World Cup final and semi-final in consecutive tournaments. Like Uruguay, with a population of under 4 million people, they should not be here. But they are. Their spine of Luka Modric and Ivan Perisic were there to see it all and are still there. Modric, at 40, has been rumored to announce his retirement following the World Cup, but don't let that deceive you regarding what he's capable of. Even at 40, the former best player in the world played 2,800 minutes in the most recent Serie A season. Several outlets have him as Milan's best-rated player, or at least top 3. Milan may not have had their best year, but I don't know how much of it was his fault. Fun fact, Croatia had been knocked out by the winners of the last 2 World Cups. It seems that that's what it takes to stop them. Ghana is another difficult team to predict. They are filled with talent. They are always filled with talent. Semenyo, Williams, Partey, this time is no different. But since the days of Michael Essien and Asamoah Gyan, it's been nothing but inconsistency for the Black Stars. Panama, on the other hand, are the tournament's oldest team, with an average age of 30. Again, age isn't a deciding factor here, I just thought it was worth mentioning. I also don't think that Ghana are leaps above above them in any case, so it is kind of a toss-up for me. We're just gonna have to watch and see what happens. If I have to choose though, I would probably go for Panama above them. Here's what Group L finishes like. I promise you, clip this. It's gonna be correct. Don't clip this, please, don't do that. Now that we've rounded up the final four, let's work through the rest of this list, moving on to the fourth most likely to lift the trophy, Brazil. Oh, Brazil. Do me a favor, close your eyes for a second and just imagine for a second that you're Brazilian and the year is 2002. Brazil have just won the World Cup. In fact, this is the third time in a row that Brazil has reached the final. They won in 94, lost in 98 after their star player had some mystery illness, only for that same star player to return in 2002 and dunk on everyone. Also, he's only 25. Ronaldinho is 22. Kaká is 20. Life is good. From there, everything falls apart. Fast forward 24 years, nothing more than quarterfinals appearances in 4 out of 5 World Cups, and the only time they do go a step further, Brazil have the mystical eyebrow at the helm this time. Carlo Ancelotti is the ultimate manager of egos and big personalities, which is clearly a plus for this job. A big personality it seems he could not ignore was the corpse of Neymar. I haven't seen this man run since he was in Paris. I'm convinced his ankles are held together by chewing gum at this point. He just picked up a calf injury, by the way. Here he is asking the Brazilian public why his name is on the sheet. Look at him. He's as confused as the rest of us. João Pedro said that Neymar should be in the Brazilian squad before the announcements were made. I wonder if he thought that this would be at his expense. Now, Neymar clearly was a sentimental pick. I get it. He may not even play, but they just had to pick him. It is what it is. Apart from him, Brazil do have a good set of players. I just think that I have seen far greater squads from Brazil, and I'm not sure they are as strong as the other nations that are the favorites. Certainly not fourth most likely to win. Vini Jr., Rafinha, Matheus Cunha, Paqueta, Gabriel, Marquinhos, they're all great players. Ancelotti has definitely chosen the route of experience here, with 10 of his 26 players all over the age of 30. I just think that there has to be someone younger and better than 35-year-old Alexandro, who hasn't really been on it since, I would say, before lockdown. I remember Juventus constantly renewing his contract, really wondering what they knew that Juventus fans didn't. Anyway, because of this, get ready for possibly my most controversial pick, Brazil to finish second in Group C. And honestly, because they are in another very strong group. Morocco, Scotland, and Haiti. Haiti, join up with Iraq. I'm sorry that FIFA did this to you guys. No, but this actually isn't something to laugh about. It's incredibly impressive and quite sad. Haiti are in their first World Cup since 1974 and qualified despite the fact that they were forced to play the majority, all of their home games I actually think, away from home in Jamaica, Curacao, and Barbados. This is due to a really nasty political situation. Still, they topped their final qualification group and have returned after 52 years. Morocco are technically the reigning African champions. Just make sure you don't bring any towels around them. All the memes aside, all the controversy, everything that's happened in between, Morocco is an incredible footballing nation. They really are. There is a reason that they are the only African team to ever reach a World Cup semi-final. That was 4 years ago. This is the same team. They are also the third youngest team in the tournament. No doubt Achraf Hakimi is the man to watch. If they win, he might even put the medal in his mom's name. Who knows? Brahim Diaz needs to stay far away from any penalties though. Masterclass from Yassine Bonu incoming. Scotland are in their first World Cup since 1998. They also have never made it past a group stage in any major international tournament though. Still, it's hard to argue that they do have a lot to offer. Scott McTominay, Andy Robertson, and John McGinn will need to be very active for them. Scotland's recent success has been built on a really sturdy back base, making the games ugly, maximizing dead ball situations. If they beat IT, they are in the round of 32, and that's success in my eyes. This is Group C. I'm sure of it. Next, we move on to another strong favorite. I'm sure you would all agree. With near identical odds as the Brazilians, it's their old rivals and reigning world champions. Argentina need no introduction, however, if you've been living under a rock or have not been paying attention for the last 5 years or so. This is the team. Since 2021, they have won every single major tournament that they have been part of. That's 2 Copa Americas and 1 World Cup title. Get this, they have lost 5 games since October of 2020. 5 losses in 73 matches. Let that sink in. Lionel Messi has been regarded as the GOAT by a lot of people since the age of 21, but up until the age of 34, there were a lot of people that weren't willing to give him his flowers or that title. And that's for one reason and one reason alone. This bad boy right here. Well, now he has it, and if he somehow is able to secure a second, the GOAT debate will cease to exist. I mean, this picture exists, I guess. But it definitely means the end of the modern GOAT debate, at least what's left of it. If my prediction comes true and Portugal do go all the way to the final, Elon, those data centers, they really can't come quick enough. Either that, or just blow up Twitter. Either option, man. It's your choice. Argentina still have mostly the same team from this incredible run with a couple of added options, such as Nico Paz, Valentin Barco, and Giuliano Simeone. But other than that, all the main men are all here. Messi's bodyguard is there.
E agora chegou minha vez. Pode tirar. Pode tirar. Tira. 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 Tira.
No. I mean the other one. Rodrigo de Paul. Emi Martinez is frothing at the chance of another penalty shootout. Perhaps it's just the cynic in me and this is purely emotional, but we rarely see teams able to go through such strong cycles and keep going for this long in the modern era, so I just don't see them going all the way. But I do see them topping their group, which leaves Algeria, Austria, and Jordan to fight for the other spots. Jordan are another World Cup debutant, and are also coming in as runners-up of the most recent 2023 Asian Cup. Algeria are always a team to watch, ballers in every single position, technical skills that are just insane, and it's always been this way. Interesting fact, 13 of the 26 going to the World Cup for Algeria were born in France. Riyad Mahrez is of course the biggest name, but he will be joined up with a very capable ensemble. Austria is the country that I'm in right now. Their first World Cup since 1998. And listen, this team is gifted. I remember having them as my dark horse in the 2024 Euros. They were undone by a very capable Turkey side, which is quite ironic because I think that these two footballing nations have quite a lot in common, but I'll go into a little bit more when we talk about Turkey later on in the video. This group is hard to call, but I am certain that it ends like this. Group E, 7th most likely to win, Germany. You know, for a team that Gary Lineker says plays 90 minutes and always wins, Germany they've had it rough for a while now, haven't they? 12 years since their last trophy, the 2014 World Cup, which doesn't sound like a lot to just about every country on the planet, but it's a lot in German years. That's correct, they age faster. I don't know, I guess it's something about being more efficient or something like that. Listen, I'm still learning German. There are cultural things here that I don't fully understand yet. Anyway, back-to-back group stage finishes is tough stuff in their last 2 World Cups. There are signs of life though. If you saw the 2024 European Championship, you'll know that they fell to the eventual winners, Spain, and that was in a match that really could have gone anywhere. We were literally 1 minute from penalties, but the guys decided that Mikel Merino was worthy. The point is that even if history may lead people to believe that it's not the case, you shouldn't ever count out the Germans. Jamal Musiala, Florian Wirtz, UCL final scorer, Kai Havertz, Nico Schlotterbeck. I just love saying that name. Schlotterbeck. There are some odd picks, I must say. Some people have been quick to question the inclusion of the likes of Leroy Sané, Antonio Rudiger, while guys like Jan Bisek and Almala are left at home. Thomas Tuchel is not the only German coach who's putting a lot on the line here. Having said that, you'd imagine that their chances of escaping the group this time around are a lot stronger than they have been in previous editions, but that's not to say it'll be an easy ride. They're in the same party as Ivory Coast, Curaçao, and Ecuador. And now Ecuador might be the most underrated team in this entire tournament. You hear the name, you may not think much, you may not know the players, but I raise you William Pacho, Pervis Estupiñán, Piero Hincapié, Moises Caicedo. They finished 2nd in CONMEBOL qualifiers. Ivory Coast and Ecuador are coincidentally the top 2 youngest teams in the tournament, so of course FIFA put them in the same group. Coincidence? I mean, maybe. I don't know, probably, yeah. Côte d'Ivoire is always one of Africa's most dangerous teams. The last AFCON winner where no controversy followed the tournament. Amad Diallo will be a focal point. Franck Kessié is only 29, by the way. I thought he was older, but no, here he is, and he's captain. I think Ecuador's defense will ultimately what pushes them over the line and gets them above Ivory Coast, which leaves Curaçao, another first-time tournament participant. Get this, the population is 150,000. The fact that they are at the World Cup is astonishing. Another fun fact, 25 out of the 26 players going to this World Cup for Curaçao were born in the Netherlands. The odd one out is named Tahith Chong, a former Manchester United player. And yes, I checked this so you don't have to. 17 out of the 26 players here represented the Netherlands at youth level. 2 of them actually had a couple of Netherlands senior team appearances. All of this is to say that they're not exactly the small island team that I think a lot of people think they are. They were in the same youth teams as the mighty Dutch that wear orange. Happy to be proven wrong, but I'm fairly certain that this is how Group E looks by the end of it all. Actually, I'm not happy to be proven wrong, because I won't be. Next up, number 8 on our odds list. I swear I didn't plan for this, but it's the Netherlands. Odds of just under 19 to 1. The unluckiest nation in World Cup history. 3 World Cup finals, all losses. The mighty Johan Cruyff could not do it. Robben, Schneider, and Van Persie could not do it. It's up to Memphis Depay. That sounded horrible. I love you, Memphis. They can never make me hate you. Look, the Netherlands are a good squad, and I don't know how much better they could have done with their squad selection. I mean, come on now. Virgil van Dijk, Cody Gakpo, Frenkie de Jong, Xavi Simons. He always looks like he's on the verge of crying. I wonder who hurt him. Denzel Dumfries, who was playing amateur football at 18 and apparently just got a move to Real Madrid at 30. The Netherlands have quality everywhere. The only real complaint that I've been able to see is that Memphis Depay will probably be starting as center forward instead of somebody else like Daniel Marlin or Brubby. Maybe Koeman will surprise his fellow countrymen. Maybe not. Their group competition is Japan, Sweden, and Tunisia. I think both Sweden and Japan are wildcards. Japan has always been tactically disciplined. We've seen this in the past. They may not have the star power of a team like the Netherlands or the striking capability of Sweden, but they're always organized, highly capable, and they're able to upset anyone and everyone. Don't believe me? This is how their group looked in 2022, and by the way, their 2 wins were against Spain and Germany. Luckily for Japan, Costa Rica did not qualify. And I say that they don't have the same star power as the other teams, and perhaps that's true to an extent. Kwaru Mitoma, Takefusa Kubo, Wataru Endo, and Ritsu Doan, among others, are more than well known. And then we have Sweden. Alexander Isak may not have had the most ideal year in Liverpool colours, but there's a reason he's the most expensive man in Premier League history. For now, at least. Guys, just wait until after the World Cup and everyone's agent starts getting to work.
Yesterday's price is not today's price.
Victor Gyökeres is a Premier League champion. He was not the main reason, but perhaps there's no coincidence that Arsenal won a Premier League in the very same year that they bought an out-and-out 9, like all the fans have been asking for about 6 years. He's a baller. And then there's the Graham Potter story here too. Now, I don't really know how you guys feel about him, but I was a firm believer that Graham Potter just had a bad draw at Chelsea, and he was actually an elite coach. His time at Brighton was far too convincing to make me feel otherwise. And then West Ham happened. They sacked him only 5 games into the year, with the club in 19th. They are now relegated. There was clearly more going on over at West Ham, but perhaps they should have sacked him sooner. Seeing how it went out. Now, he's either Sweden's problem or their solution. Club football and international football are 2 very separate things, and they're not the same in the slightest, but you'd excuse me and a couple of other people if they weren't a tiny bit skeptical. Tunisia, I'm sorry. This is Group F. Take a screenshot, do whatever you need to. It's confirmed. Rounding out our list of top 10 favorites is the team formerly known for its golden generation, Belgium, the team that reigned as the #1 ranked team in the world between 2018 and 2021, that being despite the fact that Belgium only made the quarterfinals in Euro 2020 and the semifinals in the 2018 World Cup. I know ranks are based on ELOs and other such things. They should have won something. Belgium come into this World Cup with most of their stars belonging to that generation too. Meunier, Romelu Lukaku, Kevin De Bruyne, Axel Witsel, Thibaut Courtois, none of them are under 33. Eden Hazard has been retired for 3 years now, and I think he's enjoying himself. Yuri Tielemans captains the Red Devils at 29. Jeremy Doku came alive at the tail end of the Premier League season. He'll be expected to carry that form into this competition. They will see resistance from Egypt, the record African champions. That being said, Egypt never seems to really be able to get it right on the world stage. Only 4 World Cup appearances in their history, this being their 4th, this being despite 7 AFCON titles. They have good players. The most obvious is Mohamed Salah Salah, the greatest African player of all time by many people's estimations, yet he has no medals with Egypt to solidify that claim. New Zealand's Chris Wood was the top scorer of the Oceania qualifiers, but I do wonder if he'll be able to change one of the strangest records in World Cup history. New Zealand have been to 2 World Cups before this one and have never won a game. 1982, lost all 3, knocked out of the groups. 2010, drew all 3, knocked out of the groups. Undefeated and knocked out. That's tough. Iran, on the other hand, have made 7 World Cups and have never made it past the group stage. With 3 progression spots available this time around per group, you'd think something has to give for either New Zealand or Iran. It's their best chance. So this is how I see Group G ending up. Okay, so we finished the groups that contain all the favorites, and listen, I really promise that I did not plan it this way, but the last teams left are the host nations. Because they're playing in the opener, let's start with Group A. Mexico.
It's like, I was made for this.
It's a World Cup year. We already know what this means for Guillermo Ochoa, 40 years old and a potential generational performance incoming. Look, he's likely not going to be first choice over here, but the aura alone is enough for a seat on the plane. Seat on the plane? Did I really write seat on the plane? I think I'm losing it, man. This is insane. Mexico have the home ground advantage here, and this will definitely play a huge role in pushing them through the group stages. The opener at Mexico City is going to be a real national event, and they don't have a horrible team either. A surprising miss for those who haven't been paying attention for a while, like me, is Irving Lozano. He's only 30 years old, but essentially hasn't played in 2026 due to issues at club level. Considering his career trajectory a couple of years ago, you would think that he would be leading this team in this country. FIFA 19 legend. For 7 World Cups between 1994 and 2018, Mexico always made it past the group stages, and they were facing some really tough teams while they did it. In 2018, they had Germany, South Korea, and Sweden. In 2014, Cameroon, Brazil, Croatia. In 2010, South Africa, France, Uruguay. They are resilient. Although it must be said that in 2022, they were knocked out in the groups. Still, I definitely see them progressing. And then we have their opponents in this cycle: South Africa, South Korea, South Czechia, also North Czechia. It's the same country, just geographically has a north and a south. I didn't know that before. Mexico will open the World Cup, and their opponents will be South Africa. I forgot my Bafana jersey in Joburg. It's being mailed to me as we speak, but this will have to do for now. It's been 16 years since the last appearance, and SA only qualified as hosts in 2010. The last time we qualified on merit was 2002. Lyle Foster, hat-trick every game. Ronwin Williams, Golden Glove, 6 clean sheets in the group stages. What do you mean there are only 3 games? I stand by that statement. I've also gotten word that they are bringing Sipiwe Tshabalala out of retirement for each goal celebration. He's gonna be a busy boy. Also, for anyone that only watched Tshabalala in that opening game against Mexico in 2010, he tried that shot that got that goal at least 5 times in every game he played after that. And the results were as you would expect. But nobody remembers those. We all remember this one. Hugo Broos has single-handedly revived belief in Bafana since he took over in 2021. The 2023 run to the AFCON semi-finals was sensational, and it was penalties that knocked them out against Nigeria. South Africa topped their qualification group, which included Nigeria, and South African football has a lot to be excited about. Orlando Pirates just won the league, making them the first new champion since 2017, and Mamelodi Sundowns, the team that has been winning the league for all those 8 years straight, just won the African Champions League. There are 8 Orlando Pirates players and 8 Sundowns players in this 26-man squad. Still, this is a big step because they are in a tough group. Czechia are not to be taken lightly. They've got really big men that play at the highest level and have been known to throw their weight around. Patrick Schick remains the obvious danger man. He is always good for a late winner. Just ask any Bundesliga team in 2023. Thomas Soucek just got relegated with West Ham and likely doesn't want to experience his second relegation in about a month. Czechia have had a 20-year absence from the World Cup, so just trumping South Africa's 16. They qualified at both Ireland and Denmark's expense, and both games needed penalties. 10 of their players come from Czech champion Slavia Prague. South Korea looks dangerous too. Kim Min-jae, Heung-min Son, Lee Kang-in. Although, like a lot of nations, as you've probably noticed going through this video, they aren't really regarded as as strong as they were in some years gone by. There isn't a lot of hope and belief in the coach, but they did not lose a game in the qualifiers, and anything can happen. It's another tough group to predict, but this is how I see it going. The home ground advantage edges it to Mexico for me. I think South Korea comes in second, and third place will come down to Czechia versus South Africa when they play on the 18th of June. Here's hoping for something incredible. Oh my goodness, it's so hot. Next, we move on to Group B. Canada will be co-hosting the World Cup, with this being their third ever appearance. Canadian football has been on the rise for a very long time, and I'm fairly certain that with this tournament, they're going to be taking a couple steps forward. They automatically qualified this time as hosts, but in 2022, they qualified on merit, appearing at a finals for the first time since 1986. 4 years ago, they arrived as an exciting yet ultimately inexperienced side. Since then, they've gone as far as the semifinals in the Copa America, knocking out Venezuela on the way, only losing because they faced Argentina. You need to be taking them seriously. Alphonso Davies and Jonathan David will get all the camera shots. For good reason, they will be expected to deliver big for their country, especially on home soil. They also have a good run in the groups, if I'm being completely honest. In my opinion, their biggest competition, they only play them on the final match day, and at that point, they could have already qualified. If only it were that easy, right? The other team I'm referring to is Switzerland. I feel Switzerland are the safest bet here. Right? I just look at their team, I look at the names that comprise of this team, and I see Granit Xhaka, Gregor Kobel, and Manuel Akanji, and I just feel that it's going to be tough for them to be broken down in this group. They have made it out of the groups in their last 3 tournaments, so I see no reason why that trend should stop now. Bosnia and Herzegovina may have something to say about that. Bosnia are being led by a well-known youngster. His name is Edin Dzeko. Edin Dzeko has been around for a while. Bosnia qualified at the expense of Italy, but before that, it was thanks to his goals that they made it all the way there. He scored 6 scores in the UEFA World Cup qualifiers. It's been 12 years since Bosnia were in a World Cup. They arrived hungry, and funnily enough, even though I led with the fact that they've being led by a 40-year-old Edin Dzeko, Bosnia has the 3rd youngest team in the entire tournament. I predict them to come third, but I can easily see them taking points from Canada or Switzerland. Qatar are an interesting case as a footballing nation, hosts of the last World Cup. They are the reigning champions of Asia, winning the 2023 Asia Cup, but they also lost all 3 of their games at the 2022 World Cup, making them the only nation to ever do so as hosts. They finished 32nd out of 32 teams in that competition. This 2026 edition, though, is their second chance to come out and really show what the champions of Asia can do. I think they'll be under a lot less pressure to perform, so let's see. I don't know. To me, here's how Group B is going to end: signed, sealed, and delivered. Oh my god. I don't even know how long this video is. Been recording for like an hour and a half at this point, but I promise you that I did not intend to only talk about America at the end. But here we are. Save the best for last. Group D, the United States of America. If you want to talk about pressure to perform, my friends, this is what it looks like. 330 million people looking to 26 men to change their minds about a sport that most of them have never given much of a chance. Mexico is already football crazy, so no convincing needs to be done there. Canada, I wasn't completely sure. I do know that football is popular, but I wanted to make sure, and a lot of places that I looked at online were saying that it's the most popular sport amongst the youth, and at worst top 3 sports across the country. Any Canadians here? Let us all know. The US, on the other hand, in 1994, the World Cup in America kick-started a lot of interest in the sport. It even helped usher in the creation of the MLS. And even though the sport has been growing in the States over the past couple of years, it does seem as though it'll never really get close to some of the more popular sports that are played that Americans love and hold dear, and this makes sense. I know a lot of people complain about Americans not enjoying the most popular sport in the world, but they like what they like, and that shouldn't be a problem to anyone. However, FIFA, the US, and everyone in between have been tasked with doing something about it. how will they do?
Hey, how's it going? So what do we got here?
I have a signed Christian Pulisic jersey. Plays for Chelsea FC team in the Premier League.
This guy's like the phenom guy, right? He's like the LeBron James of soccer.
Definitely.
If you've been following this US team for a bit, you will know that this is probably the best it has ever been. Of course, it's not just Pulisic. Serginho Dest, Tyler Adams, Gio Reyna, Weston McKennie, Malik Tillman, Folarin Balogun, Timothy Weah. These are all incredible players, winning trophies all over the world, all of them with a massive task on their hands. Mauricio Pochettino is also a heavy hitter of a coach. A man known for his abilities to get the best out of youth now has the deepest American side to ever exist. Turkey and Paraguay are their main competition for the top spot in the group. Turkey are kind of like Austria, as I was saying earlier on. They're filled to the brim with talent, but they aren't exactly elite level. You know, every tournament they enter as dark horses, and I know it sounds a bit cliche, but it's really hard to argue against, because this Turkey side, any Turkey side, most Turkey sides that have entered major tournaments are capable of beating the best teams, every team that's come to this tournament, if the match conditions are correct. They haven't played a World Cup since 2002, but quite importantly, in that tournament, they made the semifinals and were knocked out by the champions. Arda Güler is expected to be the star man here. Paraguay are another of those teams from South American qualifiers that finished with 28 points. But Paraguay, there is a lot more than meets the eye with Paraguay. Up until match day 6 of the CONMEBOL qualifiers, they had only won once, with a record of 1-3-2. They fired the loss coach, hired Gustavo Alfaro, and went the next 12 games with only one loss. This included wins against Brazil, Argentina, and Uruguay. Gustavo Alfaro has cultivated a very stubborn team built on organization, mental fortitude, and resilience. Now, over the course of the video, I've talked about a lot of teams that are going to try and make it ugly and be horrible off the ball. Paraguay is very arguably the team that encompasses that belief and playstyle. Don't rule out the possibility of them upsetting everyone in this group. In 4th place, I'm gonna have to go with Australia. They are certainly always up for a battle, proven by the fact that they have qualified for every tournament since 2006. But despite that long record, quite strangely, they have 17 World Cup debutants, including Christian Volpato, an Australian-born 22-year-old that represented Italy at youth level up until last year. Seems he decided to switch at the right time. Here's how Group D plays out. I think Turkey and the US will battle it out, but Turkey probably takes it, which leaves Paraguay in 3rd and Australia on the plane. And with that, we have completed the group stages, and I have said everything that I could about the 48 teams, all 48 teams that will be participating in the 2026 World Cup. It took us a while to get here, but we are here. So we're going to speed up the process a little bit here. I've given you all what I think about these teams, how I think they stack up in the groups. So with that same logic, here is my prediction for the final bracket and how the rest of the tournament will go. A couple of interesting matchups I see along the way. Brazil versus the Netherlands catches my eye in the round of 32. Germany versus France in the round of 16, as well as Argentina versus the USA, and the biggest of them all, Morocco versus Senegal. This would be a light show. In the quarterfinals, France take on Brazil, but the match that would cause everyone in the world to stop what they're doing is Portugal versus Argentina, which means that if it happens, it will end in a 1-0 draw courtesy of an own goal. I already spoiled the semifinals and finals in the odds rankings, but this could still be incredibly tasty. We'd have a final of Spain versus Portugal. Win or lose, they will be wars across the Iberian Peninsula. And my prediction is that Portugal will win the World Cup when it's all said and done. Regardless, I think it's going to be an incredible World Cup. Now, I'm actually not going to be going to America for it. I had planned to, and then I was just working out all the schedule stuff, but at the end of the day, I just couldn't make it work logistically with the videos that I want to create for the World Cup and also the streaming that I want to do for all the live streaming. So I decided that I'll stay here in Austria and maybe go on holiday in the US when it's all said and done. But I will be doing watch-alongs for all the games that are played at reasonable hours in Central European time, so you can watch out for those, and probably all of the games from the quarterfinals onwards, regardless of time. And there we have it. Let me know what you guys think about your country, your team in the World Cup. It's always really exciting. That's all for me today. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one.